Hello, I'm television and radio presenter, producer Rob McKnight. With over 3 decades of experience, this is Media McKnight. Is Australian Survivor about to have its torch snuffed out to be replaced by a former ratings winner obstacle show? Well, as exclusively revealed by TV Blackbox, Channel 10 has made the decision to scrap a planned 2-season back-to-back shoot. Instead, only 1 season will be shot. Now, according to Karl Laidlaw, the decision to scrap the second planned season was because of ratings and audience reception to new host David Gannat. Gannat took over as host of the franchise after the sudden axing of Jonathan LaPaglia. Now, while leaks to the media at the time suggested the move was about LaPaglia's high salary, which is partially true, Media McKnight can reveal his axing mainly came down to a clash with Endemol Shine executive Amelia Fisk. The two had been at loggerheads for some time, and I'm reliably informed she had been trying to get rid of LaPaglia for a couple of seasons before she finally was able to pull the trigger. Last year, she finally convinced the executives at Channel 10 by turning it into a cost saving. Fisk got her way, but the show has suffered as a result. Not only was there a massive and unexpected backlash, unexpected for Channel 10 and Endemol Shine, ratings have dived, even though streaming numbers, well, they have risen a bit. Now it looks like Channel 10 is on the hunt for a replacement show, and I believe I know what it is. Get ready for the return of Australian Ninja Warrior. Now, while this information isn't 100% confirmed, let's just say all signs are pointing to its return, including from production insiders who just get that feeling it's happening. But get this. Another dead giveaway is the resumption of its social media pages. A full month ago, full episodes started being uploaded to YouTube. Now, while that might be because maybe the rights just expired at Channel 9, but nothing had been posted for 4 years before that. Same over at Instagram. The page had been silent since July 12, 2022. Then, all of a sudden, clips started appearing on April 1, and there's been a steady stream ever since. All that activity taking place since we found out a season of Survivor had been dropped. It all seems pretty suspicious to me. When Network 10 was approached for comment by TV Blackbox about the scrapping of the second season, well, a spokesperson rejected the claims, but that's to be expected from them. Ninja Warrior is a lot cheaper than Australian Survivor to film. There's no overseas travel, per diems come down, travel and accommodation comes down, and it can all be shot in a shorter amount of time. This would make sense for Channel 10 to get on board with. It's a known format. It was very popular at one point, and it could be the turnaround 10 needs. It's not going to save the network, but it's certainly a good start. There's been a lot of commentary surrounding the arrest of Ben Roberts-Smith, who's been charged with 5 counts of the war crime of murder. Critics are upset a camera crew was tipped off to be at the airport to shoot the arrest. What many fail to understand, though, is that was a videographer from the Office of the Special Investigator who shot those scenes. It wasn't a camera crew from a news outlet. It's not uncommon for the police to shoot arrests and drug busts and then distribute to the media. They do this to stop media getting in the way of stings if they get a tip-off. Although I've never known that theory to work out, they'd much rather have exclusive vision than a pool feed. Still, many in the media have been left stunned by the backlash to their reporting of the Ben Roberts-Smith case, and I include myself in that. You see, I believe justice has no price and no one should be above the law, but I've never served and therefore don't fully understand the issue, it seems. Military ranks are rallying in support of Ben Roberts-Smith, including Special Forces combat veteran Heston Russell. Heston explained the situation to me on McKnight Tonight in his very first interview after the arrest of Ben Roberts-Smith.
My issue is that, the presumption of innocence is something that I find is something that we like to say, but it's something that is not well executed, particularly given the amount of media coverage that's been happening the last 24 hours. There's calls for his Victoria Cross to be in doubt, all the rest. This guy's innocent till he's proven guilty by a court, and every veteran, every Australian should stand by that democratic process. But Rob, what I look forward to coming out, and I'll leave it at this, is that there is so much context and so much information missing from the public of what and why we deployed our special forces to Afghanistan. It's not simply sitting back and saying there were rules of conflict, were they broken, this, that, and the other. There is so much context to so many of the missions, some of which I was on the ground with Ben Roberts-Smith for in Afghanistan, that the hierarchy, our military officials, our government officials have not come forward with the Australian public to tell them what they asked us to do. And I thoroughly look forward to that coming forward. I am pretty disgusted by the sequencing of this arrest. We're talking about alleged offences from over 15 years ago, yet the police with their camera crew are waited to do this when he and his daughters came home from their trip at Easter. They could have done this easily at home out of such a dramatic view, but I feel there's a lot of dramatic, play being put into this because it is such a higher focus media point. But a lot of veterans are outraged because, again, there's a lot of context missing here. And I
Where
just
does
look
the
forward to this
outrage
going
come
through
from,
due process.
Heston? Help me understand that,
Yeah.
because I sit here as a civilian,
Yeah.
again, never served, I'm being very clear on that, and I go, okay, they must have evidence. You know, I know you said it was a trial by media with 9 newspapers, but unlike your defamation case against the ABC, Ben Roberts-Smith lost his defamation case. You won. The ABC investigation into you was very flawed. And of course, we have that infamous, the 6 bullets, was it, added to 1 gunshot? So your case was very different. You won that defamation case. But why is it outrageous that these things are being investigated?
No, it's not outrageous they're being investigated. What's outrageous, Rob, is that any media organisation in Australia can label a veteran a war criminal, and the burden is on the veteran to take them to court in civil defamation proceedings, which unfortunately Ben lost. A simple fact, even after a royal commission into defence and veteran suicide through to deploying veterans overseas to wars since World War I and beyond, we don't appreciate the unique circumstances of war, and the respect to our veterans are requiring things to be brought to a threshold, which they have now, of being liable to criminal conviction, criminal standards of proof, and journalists sitting back and saying it's okay to just sling mud unless they can sue us on a defamation case. Where the outrage is coming from is that war is not black and white, and Afghanistan in particular is not black and white. And the number of veterans reaching out to me from Korea and Vietnam, like my grandfather, who say, if they seriously wanted to go back and have a look at war and what they're alleging these days, then they just don't understand the context of what actually happens. And that's not an excuse to break the rules of armed conflict. But we are talking about things that happened over 15 years ago, some of these allegations 10 years ago. There's
But
so
should
much
there be a
that's
time
missing.
limit if something was done wrong?
No, it's not about a time limit. Justice, we're all about justice. We're 100% all about justice. But Rob, what's going to be brought out is, so much of the evidence that's come forward in the hidden civil defamation case, I don't believe is going to stand up to the criminal standard. Taking a step back, where is this putting Australia and our people strategically? At a time where Afghanistan's controlled by the Taliban, at a time where recruiting is at an all-time defence low, at a time where there's the war going on in Iran. There's some larger conversations here. What I will touch on is, and I agree with the waste of resources for 300 million people to pursue me and some of my guys and Ben Roberts-Smith for the last 5 years, when you have people like the 2 terrorists who killed 15 people at Bondi who are not being monitored 24/7 by Australian Federal Police resources. Meanwhile, it turns out Ben Roberts-Smith has been.
Now, I actually found him fascinating, and he actually started to sway my mind on what's going on with Ben Roberts-Smith, amazingly, because I certainly wasn't on the path where we shouldn't be following this, and we should be following it, let me be clear. But it's interesting because that interview, if I take you to my computer, at the time of recording, has had 56,000 views. But let me just read out the odd comment. It's disgraceful the way BRS is being treated. Well said, Heston. Australian Gov and media doesn't give an F about our veterans. Must question the arrest timing so close to Anzac Day. The government needed distraction for their incompetence. The ABC supplied. This is so disgusting. Why would anyone bother joining the ADF? Thank you, Heston Russell, for exposing the dirty media circus. Release this man from jail now. I literally just read the comments from the top then. I haven't filtered. I haven't excluded any. That is the first run. And there are, I'm just trying to see how many comments there are, 1,153 comments on the McKnight Tonight video. The media needs to be careful, because the assumed narrative that you would likely take isn't sitting well with a lot of Australian public. Now, it doesn't mean the media shouldn't report the news, it shouldn't follow up, but they need to tread carefully, because what I'm seeing here is that people aren't liking the cozy relationship with the police. A lot of people thought it was a news crew that actually shot that. They didn't understand it was the Office of the Special Investigator shooting it themselves. But there's a lot of distrust in the media, and I see that time and time again. How did it come to this? I'm not so sure. But while Channel 9 and 9 newspapers might revel in the gotcha moment, they also need to be careful about not being seen to impede justice. It's a balancing act. It really is. This week, the ABC announced it was dropping some partnerships with diversity groups. As first reported by The Guardian, an internal email revealed plans to end its controversial memberships with Acon Health's Pride in Diversity program, the Australian Disability Network, and the Diversity Council of Australia. That's led to many misinformed people believing the ABC was dropping its own diversity and inclusion programs. It's not, but that hasn't stopped plenty of videos appearing on social media. Take this one, for example, which literally starts with the title saying, "The ABC ditches diversity."
So, as of this week, the ABC will no longer be working with the Diversity Council of Australia, the Australian Disability Network, or Acon Health's Pride in Diversity program. This decision follows attacks from the Australian newspaper on these kind of relationships, saying that they risked influencing the ABC's content. Presumably, doing diversity training could infect journalists with the woke mind virus. The ABC told staff that these partnerships were no longer providing sufficient value, and that other partnerships were under review, quote, to preserve independence. The Guardian reported that the ABC told them that they remain committed to diversity and inclusion.
This is Trump stuff. Removing yourself from groups like the Diversity Council of Australia or the Disability Network because the right-wing media is threatening you. It really is this idea that staff are being infected with the woke mind virus, making sure that public institutions don't prioritize diversity initiatives.
So much misinformation in here, it's not funny. It's not Trump stuff. The ABC still believes in diversity and inclusion. It's just not paying for the right to be partnered with people. Because it hasn't just been right-wing media raising concerns about these partnerships. The ABC's very own Media Watch program explained why it's a problem for the ABC. Back when Paul Barry was the host, he revealed how the ABC was paying thousands of dollars a year to be in partnership with these groups, which then led them to provide editorial tips. Now, that is problematic, to say the least.
Emails obtained under FOI by a women's anti-trans group called Acon Exposed also show Acon's ABC relationship manager offered editorial tips, including adding a help number to boost the ABC's Australian Workplace Equality Index score.
Just a thought for future LGBTQ-related content, and there are AWEI points in it too. ABC Classic presenter Russell Torrance was speaking to Ed Ayres on the importance of Wear It Purple Day. I think this is AWEI worthy.
And this is surely where the problems start, because regardless of how good or worthy these programmes are, and first day one prizes around the world, having them scored by a lobby group raises questions about ABC impartiality. Imagine, for example, the ABC paying thousands of dollars to Greenpeace and winning prizes for running stories attacking the fossil fuel industry, or paying money to the Australian Republican movement and being rewarded for a series criticising the monarchy. How would that be defensible or impartial?
Exactly. The ABC is not turning its back on diversity and inclusion programs. It's simply not paying for the privilege to be lectured to by lobby groups. It's not right. It's not their place to do that. The ABC is an impartial organisation, and it has to remain such, no matter how good the cause, no matter how much you believe in it. It has to be seen to be independent. This isn't just right-wing newspapers coming down on the ABC. This has started internally with Media Watch. But people making these videos ignore that fact. And so they're guilty of their own spin. The same spin that they accuse right-wing newspapers. They've ignored certain facts to suit their narrative. That's what we need to be careful of when we're trying to work out what's going on. You can show your support for the show by buying me a coffee. Just go to buymeacoffee.com/McKnight tonight. Every bit helps keep this show from our garage going. To Logie's news now, and there's been a really positive change in the way celebrities are nominated for the Gold Logie. TV Tonight reports it won't just be the broadcasters who will be able to determine the nominees for the Gold Logie. The change now allows TV Week to be able to put forward names for both the Gold Logie and Hall of Fame categories this year. This is a really positive change. I haven't liked the way the broadcasters have so much control over who's nominated for a Gold Logie. I do believe the public voting should be a factor. Remember the days when every celebrity who was nominated for any kind of Logie was then able to be nominated by the public for the Gold Logie. So there'd actually be 2 rounds of voting. Well, now there's only one, and we're told who the finalists are. I am a judge in the Logie Awards. I judge in various news categories, and I take it very, very seriously. And I think the others judging do too. I sit and watch every story. I watch all those presenter reels, but I will tell you, presenters, when you are putting your reel in for Best Presenter category, do not put in a 60-minute video. And don't put in videos that highlight other people. Just focus on yourself. 3 to 5 minutes is all you need. Generally, we know who you are. And secondly, you should be able to tell your story in 5 minutes. You need 60 minutes to show what a good presenter you are. You really are wasting everyone's time. Now it's time for a new segment called A Salute and a Slap. This week, it's Today Show host Karl Stefanovic getting a much-deserved salute, but also a slap. Let's start with the positive. The Karl Stefanovic Show has changed podcasting in Australia. Using his star power, the Gold Logie winner has shown what can be achieved by connecting with the audience. Unshackled by network expectations, Karl is living his truth, and fans are responding in kind. He's obviously put a bit of money into this. It looks fantastic, and the interviews are compelling. I genuinely can't wait to see what he does with the next part of this adventure. And I really do wish him all the best with that project. But now to the slap. And for that, we need to look at this interview he did with Treasurer Jim Chalmers recently on the Today Show. It was compelling. It was tense. It had everything. You couldn't look away. But there was one moment where Karl took it too far.
But on this day, we are getting the fuel into the country that we need. We are getting, we have released more of the stockpile, and we're getting that out to those areas that are needed. But we are going to take this a day at a time, and we are going to remain calm.
I tell you what, if a country's doing day to day during a crisis, you know you've got dramas. Look, Donald Trump has bagged you again overnight. I've got to move on. Donald Trump has bagged you again overnight. Can we get to that, please?
It's fine for you to have the last say there.
One thing we're very disappointed.
What we are doing is we are working through scenarios. We are working through scenarios, but
Australia was not great.
I'll circle back and let you finish what you were going to say, but I think it was the same thing that you'd been saying for 2 weeks.
Are you giving me an opportunity to say that now?
Well, that's what I just said, yeah.
But, yeah. We are...
Okay. Really, really messy. But it all stemmed from the fact Karl tried to take a swing and then move on without letting Chalmers have the chance to respond. Up until then, Karl had challenged him and challenged him and challenged him, but Chalmers had the right to respond. And when Karl tried to do that last-minute whack and then move on to the next topic, well, Chalmers, quite rightly, got the shits. And he had the right to respond. You can't just drop a bomb and then expect the person not to have the right to respond. And what that also led to is because Karl kept trying to push ahead and throw the Trump clip, the control room's like, what do we do? So they played the Trump clip. The audio director realizes something's going on. It's not like the control room can stop and have a conversation about how to tackle this. And Karl ultimately did the right thing. He begrudgingly, but he ultimately gave Chalmers the right to respond. It just ruined what was such a great interview. So Karl, that is your slap. You are doing a lot of great work right now. But even when we do good work, we get the salute. But sometimes we also need a slap. You know, sometimes something special pops up on your social media feed that is just too good not to share. Now, anyone who's ever worked in a control room knows there is a whole other show happening behind the scenes, especially when it comes to communicating on the run live with no chances for second takes. Have a look at this video with production audio of the BBC's 1977 Eurovision performance. And a warning, the language is very explicit as we listen to the director give some well-intentioned advice to his crew.
8, 7.
Are you with me, Ronnie Hesler?
5, 4.
Ronnie.
2, 1.
Sound. If you cut the sound, put the sound. There's got fuck all sound in here. I'm not. I'm touched on normal. Jesus. No, but I mean, geez, bloody organisation. You stop this, cow. VT, I've cut your talk back, I know. Can you hear me? I'm sure you can. You've got it. I cut it to shut the bloody idiots in Network 1.
That's another BBC miracle.
Can you ring Network 1 and tell that cow to shut up?
Minute and a half. 8.
Oh, it's too early. 1 minute, one.
On 1.
Keep the DG in, for Christ's sake. 1.
Millions of you that have joined us this evening. We can't see you, but we thank you for being with us.
Yes, but he has to get round there. He has a long
all
way
of us here, and especially from the winners. Good night.
And coming to 9. Cue orchestra. Cue orchestra. Go to 4. Take the lights down, 4.
505.
Take the lights. House lights.
3 next. Shut up, Network. 507A, 1 next.
Can you switch that fucking thing off? Please, pull the plug out or something. Out of frame on the roller. Out of frame on the roller. Is that it? You got the roller there? What's next?
3 next.
3. Wide shot 3. Wide!
508A, 1 next.
And in you go to Marie. Right in close. And keep going. Go. In. Hold it. Stay there. And now.
509, 2 next.
And cue the revolve.
Stand by on the roller.
Stop the roller. Get the roller back. Bloody idiot.
It seems pretty tame to me and reminiscent of some shows I might have worked on. And that brings us to the end of this edition of Media McKnight. The show goes public every Tuesday night at 8 p.m, but it is available to paid members, well, as soon as it's ready. You can find it at youtube.com/@McKnightTonight. And if you'd like to read the article, it's available every Wednesday morning at tvblackbox.com.au. I'm Rob McKnight. I hope to see you again soon. Cheers. I'll do the newsreader and I'll sign my scripts.